Premier, thank you very much
Cheers.
for giving us a little bit of time today.
Certainly.
I guess we're I don't know. Last week you did your first 6 months report, and you talked a little bit about what was going to happen in the near future. It occurred to me, looking at the speech, that there was no mention of the Waterfront redevelopment project.
Yes.
There's been a bit of controversy over it. What exactly is going on right now?
Yeah, we know that a lease has been contracted out for the waterfront property. Right now, the ombudsman is doing an investigation, of course, into how the contract had come about. We are still waiting for that report. You know that we have the Minister of Immigration, Minister Fay, has been in constant communication with the Corporation of Hamilton, just trying to come to an understanding of what was the expectation of Front Street. I believe that there are some folk who believe that there wasn't enough dialogue necessarily concerning the awarding of the RFP that was put out by the Corporation of Hamilton, and thus you see the likes of former Premier John Swan, who had some ideas that he's put forward. I believe that there are some others also who have some ideas about what should happen on Front Street. But at the end of the day, we're still sitting down with the corporation trying to understand the direction that they're looking to go. We haven't seen a layout of what it is that they would like to do or that they had contracted out to do. And we're still on a fact-finding project here to understand exactly what is the intent for Front Street concerning these matters. But I do know that he has a meeting coming this week again to sit down with him. We know that we're just finding out the details. We got the contract not too long ago, the lease. We come to find out, we're going through that, come to find out that it was leased out for 262 years. That's almost unheard of with projects of any kind being leased out. So we want to understand a little more as to why. Why was that the case for 262 years, and we're waiting for those answers.
But forgive me for
Sure.
pressing this issue,
No,
though. This is an agreement between two parties with legal capacity to make whatever agreement they want. What can the government do if it doesn't like the fact that the lease is for 262 years?
Well, I think that's in question as well, the legalities of being able to even issue out a license. I mean, we have a request right now that they can't guarantee. They need, legislatively, we need to put through the ability for the corporation to even guarantee monies on behalf of lands. And so some of these legalities are concerns that we have as we speak. So that may be new to you to find out, and I'm letting you know now. So we are going through and questioning exactly to ensure that everything is okay. Again, the RFP process was an extremely short process, and I believe that many of those who were interested were actually not even aware that the RFP had been put out. We're not here to say
8 people responded to the RFP.
Yes,
so.
I do understand. And those 8 people that did respond, it was felt that not enough information had been given in order for them to reply in full or as full as they would like to have. And so there may be some questions about that as well.
So what you're saying?
We're not questioning whether or not the lease is a legal lease. What we are trying to understand is what was the thinking of the corporation in the process. And that's what the ombudsman is looking at, the process of how we came to this lease.
Okay. Can you just clarify, when you say that the corporation may not have the capacity to guarantee money on land, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, for instance, we know that we've been, and I don't, because we are still discussing many of these issues, I don't want to give too much information out until it's completely qualified. But we do know that the leaseholder was looking for a guarantee. In fact, I know that they were looking for a guarantee prior to us coming government, and it had not been awarded before. So because it wasn't awarded by the government, the Corporation of Hamilton is seeking to be able to award a guarantee as a bridging loan for them to go ahead and get financing in full for the project. There are some legalities around that we are unsure of, and we're trying to qualify that, and that's what's happening. we know that the corporation has a limited ability to give guarantee, especially on large projects like this. So we just want to ensure, and we're looking to bring before the House legislation that will allow that to happen. That's what we're working on.
Great. On the
So we can expedite the product, the project.
Understood. So the developers who
Yes.
won this process, are they in any danger of actually losing the contracts as far as the government is concerned?
I would have to speak to the Minister of Finance. I don't believe that is the case. I believe that it's been a process that we've tried to expedite. The Economic Development Committee has been pressing forward. So whenever requests were made from the leaseholder, we went ahead and gave the approvals. Now we're at a position whereby the corporation needs to be able to guarantee this, and so now we're looking to get that happening. We don't believe that's going to happen until September, so we're going to press forward with trying to make that happen. As far as losing the lease, no, I don't think that's a jeopardy at all.
So you're saying by September everything should be, the due diligence, everything should be sorted out?
Well, that's what we're working towards.
Okay.
I found with many of these things tend to creep up out of nowhere sometimes, but we're working towards that date.
On related developments, the Parlerville Hotel.
Yes.
What is the update there? I guess my question really is, the government has given a lot of concessions, millions of dollars to quite wealthy developers, the Greens, for example, Fairmont, Southampton, etc. What is in store for people like Mr. McLean, who's got the contract to build a hotel in Parlerville? Is he going to get any concessions?
Of course. In order for us to jumpstart the economy, we recognize that what we call it now is concessions plan, but the new name will be a stimulus package. Okay. We've sat down and we've talked to, we had a tourism summit a couple of weeks ago, and it was very evident, based on my trip to Bahamas as well, which was part of the reasoning for being there, was that we're not in the ball game per se when it comes to being able to jumpstart our markets. Many of our sister islands, the Caribbean islands, have moved forward with new concession plans or stimulus packages to get building up and going, to get hotels back up and going. We're still well behind what the rest of the world has been doing. So I have commissioned amongst the Economic Development Committee, I had set the agenda a couple of weeks ago. We need a new stimulus package, not a concession plan. This is not about concessions. This is a stimulus package. If the tank is empty, we've got to be able to, first of all, figure out how we're going to get more water in the tank. And when we do, we've got to prime the tank. If the battery's low, we've got to jumpstart the battery, and I believe that that's where the stimulus packages come in. I'm sure you read what the Greens had to say today. This has come as a result of us coming together and offering these concessions, stimulus package, to them. It's allowing us now to get 120 plus jobs on the table, and more of that will happen as they continue to expand the hotel. In addition to that, we're also looking at a economic stimulus across the board for hotel building. Right now, when you look at the number of hotel rooms that we have, we're down to 2,500. And when you look at the occupancy of the airlines, it's at 60%. So that means to me that we don't have enough beds to fill the airlines. And so there's a knock-on effect. And
should Mr. McLean expect the stimulus package some concessions for his projects?
Absolutely, he should expect that, and that's what we're here for. Okay. We're here to ensure that Mr. McLean gets the privileges of any other hotel potential or renovations that happen. He's just like another one of the players out there. We want him to succeed. That's why we've been working very diligently over the last couple of months to get him up and going. He's gotten the approvals that he's asked for thus far. We know that the bridging for him was a concern about the bridging loan. I'm putting it out there.
For the Waterfront project?
Sorry, no, that was for the Parlerville project that I was talking about, that bridging loan.
Oh, okay.
Yes, my apologies. That was definitely for the Parlerville project. So, we can't do much about that until it goes through legislation. And so the process has to take its course. Unfortunately, fortunately, we'll be back in the House in September. and that's unusual as well. But we want to get these things through. We have a short legislative period, unfortunately. So
can you clarify then about the waterfront project?
Sure.
Now, what's the timeline for making decisions about that?
I
When is
haven't
the due diligence
yes,
due to be
I
finished?
haven't a clue as far as the timeline is concerned.
Okay.
We are just now really talking about the waterfront property. What has been on the forefront has been the Parlerville project. That's what we've been working diligently on. It is only now that we've started to look at the waterfront project and to start getting details of that as well as to what to expect. But there's so many people who are interested in investing. There's going to be a lot of people wanting to come here to help develop the project, and we're just looking for details.
Why is it taking so long? It's been, he told me that the government had the papers the documents since March. The lease you just got, but I mean,
Yes.
why was the lease?
Go ahead, sorry.
Why was the lease such a hold-up? It's
Well,
if you had everything
again,
else.
you go back. We had requested the lease long before that, and it was not made privy to us. And then, so we wanted to expedite the process. And in conversations with the Corporation of Hamilton, they were holding back the lease so that we were not privy to it. Now that we have copies of the lease, we are now going through it.
Why does government think it's entitled to have the lease?
Well, again, we give the approvals for the lands and the likes. So we are partners in that. We also support the Corporation of Hamilton financially. So if there is an interest there, there should be a joint effort between the corporation and the government, because we're both financially are liable here.
Sure. Gaming, your speech says a decision on gaming will happen soon. I think that's what it says.
Yes.
The last time we spoke, you made a comment that the gaming may not necessarily go by referendum. Where do we stand now?
We're going to referendum. That's where we stand. We do have a gaming commission. They are seeking out. This really is about the control that we can have over gaming to ensure that Bermudians are content that this is just not going to be a case of the gaming industry coming to Bermuda and siphoning off monies in the millions to go abroad. This is about enabling Bermuda. The commission right now is looking at different models around the world. Singapore, I was just in Bahamas speaking to Prime Minister Christie about the model there and how it works, what he's doing, the benefits of gaming to the island, how social programs have been benefiting from it as well. We're on the record for saying that we would go to a referendum. But as I was making the statement, what I was alluding to is that, now that we have become government and we're privy to a lot more information, sometimes the decisions that you may make in the past based on a lack of information may change. And so that now that we are government and we're gaining an understanding of what the gaming industry is, this is about jobs, putting jobs on the table. And there has to be an urgency of now as well. Right. So I alluded to the fact that, the opposition leader in the House stood up and said, listen, if you want to go to gaming, we support it. If you don't want to go to referendum, we support that. And I thought that there may be some dialogue that may happen concerning that it may not be necessary.
Have you had any further talks or communication with Mr. Landau, who you met in Washington, D.C. on that famous private jet trip?
Yes. In fact, it wasn't Tim, but it was Bazarian who contacted us back some time ago, not too long ago. He's looking to revitalize the project down in the east, and he apparently, what has come to our knowledge is that he has sought out financing. He also was having difficulty getting a bridging loan, and I believe that he has contacted the potential investors that we had seen on the private jet back some time ago, that he's contacted them about maybe getting some financing for the project that he wanted to do down at Clubman. So that's as far as it goes right now. I can't disclose any more because the Economic Development Committee is entertaining all these proposals.
Okay, understood. But just to clarify again, the initial contact with our private jet individual, since you don't want to mention his name, How was that arranged?
I think we've already answered that question. We've answered in the Parliament. Those questions were already asked. I put a statement out as to exactly how that came about. I allowed the media to ask questions.
No, I'm just looking for actually a specific. Did he make a phone call to you, or
Yes.
did people?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
And right, and then the arrangement was made to fly the jet over and take you guys
Yes.
to.
I was very clear on that in my statement.
All right. Can we talk a little bit about some of your political decisions? I suppose the cabinet when you announce your cabinet way back in December.
Yes.
You indicated that it was a large cabinet, but
Yes.
it might you might make some changes
Certainly.
further down the line.
Yes.
When are you going to reduce the cabinet?
Sure. I believe that that's almost a fait accompli, actually, after we have sat down with the School of Governance, been able to take a look at what they had recommended. I believe there's room for cutting down on the number of ministers that we do have. I won't be announcing that at any time soon right now, but we still are looking at how we can cut back, and I'm sure that that will happen.
What's the magic number?
Not sure yet. I'm still looking at it.
What was the recommendation then?
I'll let you know as soon as I'm finished.
Goodness
Again, it's
gracious.
dialogue. There's a lot of dialogue.
You're not telling us. The public might want to know.
Well, because we're not complete. I have no issues with being able to say the number that I would like to have it at. But again, we're looking at the dialogue with the School of Governance, what they're recommending, what we feel impractical makes sense. We've been discussing these things with the Cabinet Secretary as to what he thinks about these as well. We've been talking also to others, former civil servants. So it's a dialogue that's going on.
This is the UK Civil Service School.
Absolutely.
Of governance.
Yes.
Okay. That's
absolutely. They came in I believe 2010, maybe 2011, made recommendations. Those recommendations were not followed up on, and so we aim to follow up on those to be more efficient, because I do know that is a concern, that we have an extreme number of civil service, and it's become a real challenge to keep up. So.
Understood.
But we've led by example. I will say this. As far as our ministries, our ministers are concerned, we ensured that we do still have the same number as the prior government, but we are paying less for the number of ministers that we do have, but yet our ministers are working very well, and I believe moving the country in the right direction.
Okay. Your leadership, your position as leader is, I think September makes it 2 years,
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
And are you likely
Well,
to
actually,
be
not September. It will be May, coming May. But
in May?
Well, yeah, that's because if you recall, when the OBA started, there was an interim leader at the time, and that was former John Barrett. I don't remember.
Correct. Okay.
Yes.
But you have
September, yes.
a leadership conference
That's
in
right.
September. Okay. How do
Absolutely.
you feel about that?
I'm feeling very good. The position that we're in, the country is moving all of the indicators are showing that we're moving in the right direction. I'm really concentrating on what it is that we need to do, and that is get jobs back on the table. Quite frankly, I haven't even given much thought to September coming. I believe it's actually going to be in October, because we're going to be sitting in the House in September, so
Right.
it's probably put off 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay. Do you expect anybody to challenge you for the leadership?
Actually, I don't. But this is the democracy, and anyone can come up and.
Would you expect them
contest.
to resign first if they're in the cabinet?
No.
You wouldn't expect them to resign?
Myself?
Their cabinet positions. If somebody was going to challenge you, would you expect or demand that they resign from the cabinet before that time comes?
I think that would probably be the protocol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you say you haven't given it much thought.
Yes, I've been immersed. Really, this is about the here and now. I believe that my security is ensuring that we go ahead and get the job done. Me having to campaign internally, to me, is all politics. I think that if we continue to do what we need to do, and the indicators show that we're moving in the right direction, there's not much for me to worry about.
So you want to be leader beyond October?
Oh, most certainly. I've got a mandate. I've got things to do.
Okay. I'm hearing that the party is considering constitutional changes that might extend the term of the leader to 4 years or so. Is that correct?
That's still being discussed.
It is under discussion.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
It still needs
What-
to be, that is still under change.
What is your desire?
Sure. I believe that that's probably the right model. If a politician has to every 2 years be worried about trying to campaign to ensure that he's elected for another 2 years, that takes away from the mandate of moving the country forward. And he or she may become more concerned about how do I get reelected as opposed to how do I get this country moving in the right direction. Obviously, we know the term of any party coming into power, and that pretty much lines up with what I believe should be the case.
Okay. Mr. Grayson
Yes,
has been appointed advisor.
certainly.
I do appreciate you have a strong working relationship with him.
Yes.
But why do we hear this 6 months into your term? Why did you hire him from the very beginning?
Well, again, I didn't want to come out and just be hiring a whole lot of people until I understood exactly what was needed. This is a growing process here. This is a new government. Many of our ministers are new ministers. Most of our ministers have never been in government before. So this is a growing process that we have, and it's important that as we move along, we make the adjustments and make the changes as we go, as opposed to coming out from day one, making assumptions on what is needed and not really understanding what's going on.
Okay.
I'm proud to say that the number of appointments that we have within cabinet are far less than previous premiers. So we'll press forward.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Premier. Appreciate it.
Cheers.